Making headlines tonight. Economic activity declined last year, but growth predicted for this year. Animal rights activists lobbying for the laws against animal cruelty to be enforced. Significant losses incurred on government housing projects during the past decade. And coming up in sports, the Windies under-19 stopped at the quarterfinal stage by the Kiwis.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. While economic activity in Barbados declined by 0.1% last year, the Central Bank of Barbados is projecting growth of between 1.25 and 1.75% this year. The increase in economic activity is expected to come in large part from major projects getting underway. This was the assessment of Central Bank Governor Cleviston Haynes as he presented the review of Barbados' economic performance from January to December 2019. Ryan Broom joins us live now with more details coming out of the bank's quarterly press conference, which took place this morning. Good evening, Ryan.
Hey, good evening, Shane. Well, the governor says while local authorities are always keeping one eye on the global picture for any potential shocks from oil to the relationship between the world's two biggest economies, China and the U.S., so far the Barbados economy remains on the right path to recovery and growth.
Preliminary data suggests that there were signs of the beginning of a modest recovery during the second half of the year. The tourism sector again registered moderate growth, cushioning the impact of declines in other key areas of economic activity. Commodity exports were relatively flat, while weak private sector investment and consumption demand served to constrain overall economic activity. The tourism sector expanded by almost 3%, the fifth successive year of growth. Long-stay arrivals grew by 3.5%, a faster pace than the previous year, as sustained marketing efforts, supported by the increased airlift, resulted in further penetration of the United States and the United Kingdom markets.
Mr. Haynes adds that government was also able to record an increase in indirect tax revenues while cutting its expenditure by 9%.
Higher collection of the value-added tax, import duties, the new fuel tax, the room rate levy, and the direct tourism product levy boosted indirect taxes in the absence of the repealed National Social Responsibility Levy. However, excises were relatively flat during the period. Additionally, higher non-tax revenues contributed to the revenue intake as the foreign exchange fee benefited from the increased availability of foreign exchange.
Now, Shane, looking ahead, Governor Haynes says the bank's growth projections of 1.25% to 1.75% are indeed possible, especially if the planned major projects are started on time.
This positive outlook hinges on continued growth in tourism and the recovery of private investment. Special events, including Regathering and the 15th UNCTAD Quadrennial Conference, should boost the tourism and ancillary sectors and complement the activity related to the investment projects that are expected to start during the year. The overall pace of activity will be influenced by the startup date of these projects. Investors are finalizing plans in several cases and obtaining the necessary regulatory approvals.
So, Shane, definitely some good news for the economy as we start the new year, but as the governor said, a key part of ensuring that those gains are maintained will involve continued investment through the major capital projects and with inflows from the much expected United Nations Conference on Trade and Development later this year. But for now, it's back to you.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Let's hope that everything plays out well. Thanks, Ryan. Efforts continue to deepen tourism, cultural and heritage linkages between Barbados and Ghana. The island is playing host to a visiting tourism delegation from the West African nation, which includes senior officials of the Ghana Tourism Authority. Ghana is looking towards Barbados as an example as the country further develops its own tourism industry. The team is expected to meet with different agencies along with the Minister of Creative Economy and Culture and the Regathering Committee. Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Kwesi Ajiman, says they are working to improve travel between the two countries.
It doesn't make sense that to come here, I had to go through London, some had to go through New York to get to visit our brothers. And so we are very, very positive that through the combination of efforts, we can have this direct flight between Ghana and Barbados, Accra and Bridgetown. And that really will cement all the efforts that we've put in so far.
Minister of Tourism and International Transport Kerry Simmons welcomes efforts by Barbados to reach across the Atlantic towards Africa. He expects good results.
The opportunity to build not only the air bridge, but also to build deeper cultural linkages, the opportunity to build tourism linkages is exceptionally important. I have absolutely no doubt I could see that there will be literally hundreds and thousands of Barbadians who will be lining up to make it possible to get to Ghana so that they can experience where their ancestors came from. And equally, I find that more than likely that there will be thousands of Ghanaians who will be interested in coming to Barbados. I think that this is also an important opportunity for us to do something that we needed to do for a long time.
As the government moves towards modernizing the public sector, more emphasis is being placed on digital data protection and regulation. While addressing a group of regional and international data experts at a European Union-funded data protection workshop, Minister in the Ministry of Foreign Trade, Sandra Husbands, says managing and protecting this sensitive information is paramount.
You will realize that the success of these measures rely on the design of appropriate systems, the input of data by consumers and stakeholders, and the security of the same. The government is committed to safely securing the data which is in our possession.
The two-day workshop exposes participants to the EU General Data Protection Regulation, since there remains a level of uncertainty surrounding how governments and businesses collect, store, and disseminate private data of EU citizens. EU Ambassador Daniela Tramashere says the global data protection trend offers new opportunities for Caribbean countries to improve international relations and prevent identity fraud.
For Caribbean economies, joining that global trend could be very beneficial by contributing to develop an environment conducive to direct investments and improving trust between commercial partners. As a consumer, I don't need to remind you of the importance of such regulation, as a breach of personal information can damage an individual's fundamental rights and freedoms, including the risk of identity theft, and other types of fraud.